So one of them days, this is a brand new female buddy comedy film from Lawrence Lamont. This is his feature-length directorial debut. This is also the writing sort of feature-length debut for the screenwriter Sarita Singleton. As a lot of people know, this movie is produced by Issa Rae, and this is bringing together two very popular black entertainers. You know, one in Keke Palmer, of course, an actress, and then also SZA as well, who's coming over from the music world and sort of making her big screen debut in a feature length film of this stature. But this movie's been in production for quite a while. They've been working on it for about 6 or 7 years. And as I mentioned, Lawrence Lamont and Sarita Singleton have both worked previously with Issa Rae. Sarita Singleton, most notably, was the showrunner for Rap Shit, which aired on Max for a couple of
Mhm.
seasons. She also wrote a lot of those episodes. Lawrence Lamont, he's famously a music director, worked a lot with Big Sean over the years, directed a lot of his music videos, and also previously worked on Rap Shit as well. And so now they're coming over to the theatrical side of things to give us this brand new comedy film that just came out this past weekend from Sony Pictures. And so with all of that out the way, man, I'll pass it to you. What do you think about this new comedy film, One of Them Days?
I was super extra mega excited to check out this film for a ton of reasons. Issa Rae being involved as a producer, of course, giving us another, I think, for us by us project. And then there's the SZA and Keke Palmer helming at the front as the two co-stars of this film, and so I was really really excited to see what they were going to give us. Was I going to laugh how this movie was going to be? And One of Them Days turns out to be, I think, a very fun and refreshing film, and something that I feel like has been missing from, I would say, Black Hollywood for a long time. And it's just a movie that we can all turn our brains off and just laugh at it and have a good time with. One of Them Days, a lot of people have been talking about. It's very similar to Fridays, very similar to Lottery Ticket, and those things are definitely absolutely true. I think it draws a lot of inspiration from those films, but it takes the inspiration and does things on its own. I think that it can have fun with two female leads here. It does different things and takes different turns that was a good time in the theater. I think I like the crowd that I seen the movie. I seen the movie with. They were enjoyable, but this movie really is. I love. I'm also a sucker for, I think, films that take place in one day. A lot of us are. And One of Them Days is literally that, a film that takes place in one day and one night. And Keke Palmer's character is really just a normal girl who's kind of trying to get out the, what you would call, the traps of the hood, right? Like she may live in somewhere, she may live in a place that a lot of people would call the hood, but she's attempting to get a new job and be better and all of these other things. And she has the best friend who can be kind of aloof and is doing things a little bit differently. She's artsy, so I don't know. I really like the contrast that Keke Palmer and SZA gave us, I think, in this film. And it's also funny that a lot of people are interested in seeing, okay, what is SZA's acting debut going to be like? Is she going to be bad? Is she going to be corny? I think she did a good job. I think she did what she needed to do. What people be forgetting, SZA's always been kind of a liar on the internet. SZA has always lied about something, but I think I think it helped her in her newly found in acting here. I think she did a good job and did what she needed to do. But Keke Palmer is always a standout. She's really super funny. A lot of people I honestly didn't know was in the movie until I got to the theater. I didn't know Keke Palmer was in it. I didn't know Janelle was going to be in it until I got there. I was like, oh shoot, I didn't know these people were in the movie. So that was really, a lot of that was a big surprise for me. But overall, man, this is the kind of film I think I miss again in Black Hollywood, being able to go to the movies, see some familiar faces that are going to be on the screen, and just laugh and be able to relate with the content. And for that, One of Them Days is a very fun movie. I don't think it's perfect by any means. As part of it, some stuff is a little unpredictable, but other than that, man, I had a blast watching this film.
One of Them Days, this is technically the first female R-rated black comedy that we've gotten since Girls Trip in 2017. That is almost an 8-year gap in between that film and this film. We haven't gotten this type of movie in a very, very long time. There's a lot of reasons for that, of course, but it just goes to show the amount of stories that are missing from the movies that we go to see on a theatrical movie going basis. And once you sit down and see One of Them Days, I think you sort of remember and realize, like, oh wow, I have been missing this element of this type of movie from my film going experience for quite a while, because it has been absent. And that's unfortunate in and of itself. But the fact that One of Them Days was able to come out in January and February, which historically are largely dumping grounds for movie studios. These are terrible months historically, where a lot of the movies that typically that are released in these months of January, February, most known as Dumpuary, they're just not good movies. They're not necessarily the best quality. And it's largely driven by the fact that most people are probably not going to the movies around this time of the year, especially after the holidays and Christmas and the New Year. Those are big movie going times, but then there's a big gap until we get into the spring. So the fact that One of Them Days was able to come out in this particular time of the year and work as well as it does, I think is a really, really huge win for this type of movie, because I was concerned and nervous. I was also very curious to see how it was going to turn out, but this is a solid comedy. This is a really solid, fun comedy where you see Keke Palmer and SZA team up and have this friendship and this dichotomy between these two. And it's a very simple issue within their neighborhood. They have to pay rent. Their rent is due, otherwise they're going to be evicted. It's a very simple issue. It takes place over the course of one day, and they run into the most nonsensical, over the top stuff that you would find. But this type of movie used to always get made. It was very common to see this type of film made in the late 80s, the 90s, when we were experiencing a lot of up and coming Black filmmakers telling these stories from this sort of pocket of culture. But they're just not made as frequently anymore, especially when it comes to movie theaters. And so it just reminded me, and it called back to a time in which we used to get these stories pretty frequently. And it was a lot of nostalgia there for that type of story. But the fact that it works as well as it does, and the fact that Keke Palmer and SZA have this really, really incredible chemistry with each other, is just a testament to just like how good they are. And after seeing One of Them Days, it just makes me want to see more of those two together. I hope that they can do another film together, even if it's separate from this, and become like a new modern day pairing of a comedy duo, especially a female Black comedy duo. That would be incredible, because they clearly have a great relationship. They clearly work well together in a lot of respects. And this movie has a lot of energy. It has great momentum. It's short and relatively quick and breezy to get through. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It just keeps going and going and going, and it ramps up the energy and the tension and the laughs all the way until the end. And I think it overall results in a really, really good experience at the movie theaters. And I love that, for the most part, from everybody that's going to see it, just sees just what type of stories that we could experience more frequently if we're given the opportunity to do so. And like I said, there's a lot of reasons as to why we haven't gotten as many Black comedies and female comedies over the years. But that's obviously just a big missed opportunity on the part of these studios to see, like, obviously we'll turn up and there's an audience for these things. I do wish that this came out at a different time, to be honest. I wish it came out maybe over the holiday season, maybe around Christmas or in the summertime, because it's doing okay at the box office. It's made back its production budget. It didn't cost that much to make, and they filmed it in 20 days. But I do wonder also what this would have done if it were released at a different time of the year. I think it would have performed even better than what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it has incredible word of mouth. People are praising this movie and saying all sorts of good things. And so what I'm hoping is that over the next few weeks, it continues to carry momentum and steam into the next few weeks, while it's still relatively slow at the movies before the big stuff, comes down the pipeline. But overall, this is just a really, really good time. Definitely can't wait to see what Lawrence Lamont does in the future. This is a very promising debut feature film. Same thing with Sarita Singleton, for this to be her first feature film that she's writing. This is also, really, really impressive. And so those two in particular as well, I'm just looking forward to what they can do in the future. But I just hope that we can get more of this stuff more frequently, and not experience another 8-year gap until we get
Yeah.
another one of these, because there's really no reason for that. Did you ever hear or read the report? I think it came out a few years ago that Hollywood is missing out on somewhere in the vicinity of like $10 billion worth of money because of their lack of Black representation in movies and television. Like, they're
Mm.
missing out on potential revenue based on
Wow.
audiences that will turn up for this. This is a pretty recent report. I think it came out in 2021.
Okay.
It was a McKinsey report, and it's just like crazy that those numbers and that research is out there, but it's still like
Mm-hmm.
really, really difficult for this type of film to get made. Issa Rae has talked a lot about just like the hurdles that they had to overcome to even
Mm-hmm.
get this movie in theaters. Like, they had to pull in SZA because they needed a big star to help drive
Mm-hmm.
just the marketability of the film. Like, Keke Palmer is big in her own respect, but the studio's like, yeah,
Yeah.
we need somebody else as well to go up against her. And so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but just the fact that we've gone so long without this type of movie, and that it took all of this extra work to get to this point. Whereas, on streaming, there have been things, but, I think we've talked a lot about streaming. One of the drawbacks and setbacks of that is that typically a movie will come out, but it's kind of lost in a vacuum because it just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really resonate, and people don't have that experience of going to see it. That tangible
Yeah.
experience of getting out of the house, paying for a ticket, sitting in a movie theater. All of that adds on top of just the conversation around a film. So yeah, it's a sort of weird dynamic that we're living in right now.
It is weird. Part of it is it's funny you say like the movie they said we need a SZA to bring it on, and in a lot of ways I think that's part of what helped fuel some of those older movies too that we used to love. Was there was more a lot of star power, you know what I mean? Used to get those movies made. Eddie Murphy could have, you know what I'm saying, could have be like, I need to make a movie, and they will give him a movie. But nowadays it does sometimes feel like we're missing somebody to say, hey, we have this person, help, can we make this movie now, and get it greenlit. It's so interesting that SZA was that person here, and it makes actually a ton of sense though. But it's unfortunate first and foremost, of course, because like you said, in watching One of Them Days, when you sit down and the screen comes on, you're like, wait, I haven't felt this in a long time. What is this? What is this movie? Like you said, Girls Trip was the last time we felt that. And there's so many reasons and hurdles, and I think it's sad that it has to be this way. And of course, streaming has its own reason because of that, and then theaters have its own reason because of that. But there seems to be a lot of just it's almost like enough people don't care in places where they need to care. It's always been a pipeline issue, has been for a long time, pipeline issue, and all the things, the hurdles that it took Issa Rae to even get this film made are the hurdles we've been talking about for a long time. American fiction, like even the movies that do come out, it's hard for us to see them. It's very hard for us to see them. Even I'm even thinking about how hard it was for people to see Sing Sing. It's people still struggling to see Sing Sing. It's supposed to be across the nation right now, and I know people who still can't go see it. And so, it's definitely a problem, and I think it's going to take a lot for us to get to a point where this thing can become regular again. Hollywood doesn't work the same, and now I almost feel like we're attempting to find new ways and tools to try to get it to where it can be, but even that still proves to be difficult, which this is an example of that. You're talking about Issa Rae, a very proven person, couldn't, you know what I mean, could had to go through all these hurdles to get this movie made. It shouldn't have to really be like that, but it is, man. So yeah, it sucks.
Distribution is a huge part of it, and again, like I said, with just the release of this movie, financially it's doing okay, but I just, on the part of Sony, why not put this in, I think, what could be perceived as a somewhat better position in a different month for this to succeed well, and even just the marketing dollars. I don't know what they spent on the marketing of this
Mm-hmm.
movie. I don't imagine it was a ton, because I know that there are people who aren't even aware of this movie, and
Mm.
so even just that, like how much money is being spent to make sure that this is promoted and gets the chance that it probably should get, because again, I think if people see it, and have that opportunity to go check it out, they'll likely love it. And this is getting a pretty wide release, but people have to know about it, they have to show up, there's all sorts of factors that go into it. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, streaming, it presents an opportunity for things to be seen easier, because it is like more widely accessible, I suppose. But at the same time, what's the staying power going to look like for a
Mm-hmm.
movie that drops on streaming versus something that drops in theaters? That line is becoming very blurry these days. Sometimes it works in one or the other's favor. It's hard to kind of tell, but again, I do hope
Mm-hmm.
that this movie catches a lot of people's tensions and catches their eye over the next few weeks. But we will certainly have to see. But folks, those are all of our thoughts on One of Them Days. If you've checked out this movie this past weekend, hit us up and let us know what you think about it.